Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call a meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Treaty 1 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this morning. Introducing the panel members. To my left is Mr. Stenning. To his left is Mr. Sneesby, representing the city. From the assessment department is Jennifer Martins. And our recording secretary is Kelsey Harrison. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application and will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that the applicants or the assessor make at the hearing are sworn in testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it, along with the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at the hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision in respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to application for exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant. Following the swearing in, we'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the other applicant may have, and then it'll be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each part will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application is brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this morning. The session will close after the application has been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings and live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. I'll ask our secretary to swear in the assessor and to swear in Mr. Navarro.
Would you like to swear in or affirm? Could you please state your name, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Swear in and affirm.
Swear.
Could you please state your name?
Marcelo Navarro.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
All right, we'll go according to the docket, so we'll deal with St. Anne's Road, number 566. Ms. Martins, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. This is roll number 08004642000-566 St. Anne's Road. The assessed value is $39,079,000. This is an apartment building. It was built between 2005 and 2008. It is a masonry bearing walls construction class, zoned C2 community. It has a gross floor area of 188,098 square feet. If we look on page 3, we have the income workup. There are 168 suites. 50 of them are one bedroom, 118 of them are two bedroom. We have an average monthly rent of $1,523.18 per suite. We have a potential gross income of $3,070,731 with a vacancy loss of 2.6%, with an expense ratio of 34.67% and a cap rate of 5. And that gives us our $39,079,000. If we look further, we have some cap rate discussion, and we have some Municipal Assessment Act excerpts. And we've got our income statement. Okay. I added pictures, no pictures, sorry. That's everything, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Navarro, questions of the assessor?
Yes. The first question that I have is on page 2 of your report. If you go to the subject as average monthly rent per unit, now, is this modeled?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's not actually the subject's average monthly rent then?
No.
Okay. In terms of your suite mixes, if you look at, for example, comp 1, 64, it has 64 two-bedroom units. Our subject has 118 two-bedroom units and 51 bedroom units. Do you think that that is a fair comparison?
Maybe not.
Now, in terms of the rents that you've provided here, the average monthly rents, this would still be on page 2 for comps 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 2 that are at 1222 and one at 1222 and one at 1273. Your rent is at 1523. So what would be the reason for including those 2 at all?
Well, the number 2 there, it's, I included that one because it's more on a per square foot basis. Sorry, I didn't math it out. Number 2, if it's on a square foot basis, according to the average monthly rent and the square footage, it's very, very similar, about $1.35-ish for each of them.
Okay.
So that's why I included that one, because that's also a good mix of 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. I didn't figure out the ratio between them, but with 43 1 bedrooms and 124 2 bedrooms, and I was going on an average square foot. Yeah.
Okay. Now, these all come from the same period, I suppose. Have you been in any of these comparables?
No, I have not.
Okay. So in terms of their fit and finish, you don't know what they are compared to the subject?
No, I do not.
Okay. At least one of them has a very similar rent. I suppose we can assume that they are fairly similar in terms of the market.
Like the.
Comparable number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, they're in the same market region.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the rent that you have calculated for this particular unit. Again, this is a market-driven rent, correct?
Model, yes.
Or, sorry, model-driven rent, yes. Do you know if the rent has been adjusted for any type of discounts? So this would be discounted rents or subsidies?
No, because that wouldn't be comparable to market necessarily, because subsidies and things like free rent or anything that they're using to encourage people to move in, that's not something that we can, that's up to the owner, so it can be very different.
And in terms of your expenses again are also model-driven?
Yes, they are. And for this age group, that's a 34.67%. That's fairly standard for this age of building.
Now, on page 5, you've also presented a set of cap rates for apartment buildings. There are 4 cap rates here.
Yes.
Did you look at any of these cap rates, or are these just standard cap rates that you're presenting, that the city is presenting?
I took a look at these with my coworkers.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning, questions of the assessor?
It's kind of a similar question, just to get it in my mind. You have done, it is model-driven generally, but you have a statement from the appellant. Do you integrate that at all into those numbers, or are you just model-driven?
Well, we do use the numbers from the income and expense to help with the model. So we don't take their exact numbers and adjust each of the buildings. That would be far too difficult, and that would not be a computer system mass appraisal system. But we do take the numbers that they provide us,
Yeah,
and we do use those to create the model.
okay, that's all I want to know, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sneesby?
I'm all excited to see a whole page full of capitalization rates here. Is this something new that's going to happen in the future, or?
Well, we are trying to, we have had a lot of comments from various boards, and there is a desire for us to provide more information, and for us as well. It's very hard to sit here and say, model, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that we do want to provide, and we do want to show that our numbers are based on the information that we get from
So
the
it's
owners.
factual information.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not a question, I guess, but a remark. Thanks. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Martins, you have provided the, on page number 5,
Yes.
a cap study.
Mhm.
And I'm just looking, and it sort of points in the direction of the 5%.
Yes.
And I know you do some other modeling, and I note that the effective age for the subject is 05 to 08. So was there renovations done on it, or was that like when it was built? Because there's 2 buildings, eh?
It's my belief that this was while that the one building was built in 2005 and the other building was built in 2008. It could be when those buildings were put on the roll, but I don't believe there's been extensive renovations since then, because the actual years built match the effective years built.
And the 5% is applicable to that age category?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And the expense ratio seems to be kind of low. It's at 35%. So either it's a well-managed building or the model is incorrect.
Well, let's take a look at what they claim for, what did they put as expenses? How, if the models.
They provided financial statements. So it's hard for the panel to decipher all this material.
If you look on page 10,
Yep.
so some of these items aren't necessarily considered in width. Some of this might be more of a capital cost, or but their actual for the time period is $154,710 for the building. There's others for the suites. So if we look at that over here, we've provided for $1,036,942 in expenses. So apparently this is a very well-managed building.
And
So if we include the amount that they did for the suites as well, the total that has been recorded for the repairs and maintenance for suites and for the building combined is $234,037.96.
And what about the, just offhand, I see that the model has generated a potential gross or the 3 million.
Yes.
Okay, where can, I'm just looking at the first statement in December 2017, and I see the total is a lot lower.
Yes.
It's 2.8
Mm-hmm.
compared to 3, so what's happening there?
We're not going by their actual rents.
Okay. So you're relying that the model generates the higher income then?
Yes.
Potential gross?
Well, and if you look down at our effective gross, after we've taken out the vacancy loss, it's a little bit closer to theirs. Where's their vacancy? Yes, because they
Okay.
have vacancy down there as well. Well, yes, our rents are a little higher, but our expenses are also higher.
All right, I thank
It's a
you.
model.
I thank you very kindly. Mr. Navarro, the floor is yours.
I also have a rebuttal for the cap rates of the city.
Okay.
Do you want to?
We might as well do it now. We
Yeah.
might as well do it now.
So,
Okay.
there's
But you're
11 copies.
rebutting the material that we've just heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 7 for each file plus 4.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, proceed.
Okay, so I will start on page 2. So we prepared a rebuttal for the capitalization rates that the city of Winnipeg has presented. Point 1, I'll just go over that as a precedent of the municipal board. A precedent at the municipal board states that we should not consider cap rate derived on a sale where there has been intent to renovate. Enclosed is MBM Order A18-431 dated October 29, 2018, which states with the 4 remaining comparables, sufficient concerns were raised by the appellant on 3 of them regarding the purchaser's intention to significantly renovate or alter the structures. The appellant produced evidence from the purchasers which makes the board question the use of purchase price and income information. In terms of sale number 1, 191 Roche, purchased with intent to renovate. The purchaser stated in the assessor's property sales questionnaire, see appendix, that the property was purchased with the intent to renovate and the condition was fair. The 2017 questionnaire shows relatively low rents, including $663 for a 1-bedroom. Sale number 2, 394 Talbot, again, purchased with intent to renovate. An email from Asteroid is provided. The property manager before and after the sale states that the property was purchased with intent to renovate. The 2016 questionnaire shows rents of $537 for 1-bedroom, $653 for 2-bedroom. A recent website site ads totally renovated with rents of $800 for 1-bedroom and $900 for 2-bedroom. So again, we're going from $537 for 1-bedroom to $800 for 1-bedroom. So significant renovation was put into that building. And again, for 2-bedroom, we're going from $653 to $900. That's a fairly large increase in rent. Sale number 3, 285 Maxwell, purchased with intent to renovate. An email from the purchaser again indicates purchase with intent to renovate. It confirms renovations of $413,000 and intention to raise rents over 3 years. Also enclosed is the 2018 questionnaire, income and expense questionnaire, confirming kitchen and bathroom renovations of $412,790.59. Sale number 4, Ward, Altus direct evidence at 5.13. So this is one that we've also included. Altus has full income approach and supporting documents showing cap rate of 5.13 versus the assessor's 5%. Again, point number 6, assessor has the burden of proof but doesn't show the work or supporting documents. Therefore, their cap rates should be either not considered or given less value. If we go through the appendix, we can see the board decision that was quoted in point number 1. On page 11, we start with the documentation that we quoted also. Page 11 talks about 191 Roche. The next property over again, on page 13, that's 191 Roche again. 394 Talbot on page 15. And 16 also. There are the emails here on page 17. On page 18, we have evidence for 285 Maxwell Place. Page 19, the income and expenses. That is my rebuttal on the cap rates.
Okay. Ms. Martins, questions?
Not yet, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Stenning, questions of the assessor's rebuttal?
Just to keep my brain up, these properties you're showing, they were sold prior to renovations. Is that what you're saying in essence? But
So
there's-
they're bought essentially with the intent to renovate.
Yes, and I understand that. But is this applicable to this particular property we're dealing with?
Now, this is applicable to the cap rates that the assessor has.
So it's to do with the cap rate?
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
then that's fine.
Yeah, not the subject.
No, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Sneesby?
No questions.
Just a couple questions, Mr. Rowe. I guess when a property is, when you're doing analysis for capital rates, there's always circumstances in regards to the sale, okay? So, but sale is a sale, and it produces a cap rate.
Correct.
Okay, so, if the intent is for renovations or in maybe bad shape, wouldn't that be reflected in the sale price?
No, I would say that when a company purchases a property, especially a larger company that is experienced in purchasing apartment buildings, what they're looking at is the potential of that property. They're not looking at what it's doing. They're not buying it for its current income stream. They're buying it for the income stream that it will have. And there's other properties that perform like this, where they're not looking at the current price or the current income that this property is deriving. They're looking at what they're gonna be able to derive from this property.
Well, there's two ways to, I guess, assess it or
Yeah.
evaluate it. And that is that you look at the current income stream, or else you look at the potential. So, it depends on the purpose of the purchase or the appraisal, I guess. So,
So this is one thing that we've tested at the municipal board.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and they've come back to us and agreed with us on this point.
I've, read some of them, so.
And it's not the first time that
Yeah.
we've.
Okay, so that's, and word comes up a lot. Okay.
It does, but I mean, this is one of these reasons that we keep on bringing these cases before the municipal board. When we have this ongoing issue of how the market is behaving. Now, the assessors obviously have their opinion.
Well, everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah, and we have our own opinion. And we build this not just on our own. We have conversations with the property owners. And, their information is vital to us coming up with our conclusions. So when we take something to the municipal board, we want to feel fairly comfortable that we're going to be successful there. And again, this is one of these points where we have been successful at the municipal board, so.
We're ready for your presentation.
Okay. So on page 1 of my presentation, you can see this is Meadowood Gardens, 566 St. Anne's, building age 2005, 5 stories, 51 bedrooms, and 118 two-bedrooms. Again, 2020 assessment year. The current assessment is $39,079,000. We're asking for an assessment of $33,662,000. The subject property located at 566 St. Anne's Road is a 5-story apartment building located on the northwest corner of the intersection of St. Anne's Road and Meadowood Drive. Subject property was built in 2005, has a total of 168 units again, including 18 one-bedroom units, 32 one-bedroom den units, and 118 two-bedroom units. The total gross floor area is approximately 163,467 square feet, and there are 50 indoor and 58 outdoor parking stalls. The subject site is irregular in shape, with total size according to the City of Winnipeg Property and Taxation Department, 4 acres, and is zoned C2 commercial. On page 3, you have an overhead of it, and in terms of the location, it's just south of Bishop Grandin. I won't go over the analysis or burden of proof. I'll skip to page 5. Now, the assessment department uses a model to derive their value. We go site specific. Now, as stated in NDM Order A95-149 for Marion Holdings Limited, the board found that on an appeal, it is incumbent on the assessor to look at the subject property and determine if its assessment, determine its assessment in a proper manner. That involves looking at stabilized rent for the property. The assessor has chosen to use an appraisal technique used for mass appraisal valuation. No actual income, expenses, or capitalization rates are used in determining the market value of a property. The only real figure that was ever used in any calculations, of the calculations, was the sale price of 61. Was the sale price of 61 sales. The assessor says that in using this technique, the requirements of the Act have been met. The board does not agree. As a result, the board finds that the use of stabilized annual operating expenses is appropriate. That was the first assessment in which the assessor used the income approach. Since Marion Holdings' decision in 1995, it has been a requirement of the boards to rule based on site-specific valuations. According to that decision, the assessor's net income from mass appraisal is not acceptable. Income approach. The income approach to value is based on the premise that the value of the property is equal to the present worth of future net earnings that it will produce over its remaining economic life. The income approach is the most applicable method of estimating the market value of the subject and will be the primary approach applied in this report. On page 6, you can see our capitalization rates. For purposes of this report, we are accepting the capitalization rate of 5%. That's not correct. That should have not accepting. For the purposes of this report, we are using a capitalization rate of 5.25 based on the capitalization rate study shown in a separate report, Altus 2020 cap rate study for apartments. So if you look at this chart, this is included in the capitalization report that I will go over also, but it's basically a capitalization rate summary. And we can see the 2018 to 2020 cap rates by the assessor. And in our age group, 1999 plus, 1 to 5 stories. In terms of the 2018 good locations, 5 plus, we've gone with 5.25. Again, I will go back to the cap rate study once we get into the capitalization rate report that we've also handed in. If you turn to page 7, we can go over the income statements. So, again, we're using site-specific characteristics here, so we're going with the actual incomes that have been reported, but we stabilize them over 3 years. So as you can see that the potential gross rents for 2015, 2014, 2017 have all been averaged out. We've excluded discounts, so we removed discounts and subsidies. That is a normal process, removing discounted rents and subsidies. We've stabilized the rent at $2,702,152, and the effective gross is $2,702,152. We've also added $138,168 in parking rent. And again, this is something that we've also stabilized. Miscellaneous income of $1,349. In terms of expenses, we look at the typical expenses. So what we've looked at is insurance, management fees, professional fees, office supplies, bank equipment, telephone, that type of office expenses, wage and benefits, advertising and leasing, utilities, which include hydro, water, and gas, cable, satellite, we haven't actually adjusted for that, waste and snow removal, security and intercom sometimes, not in this case, repair and maintenance, wages and benefits, other, we have no expenses under other, and then real estate taxes. If you go through all of those, what we've done is we've stabilized them over 3 years. Our total expenses stabilized is $1,074,434, and that is 37.8%. Now, when we subtract that from the effective gross income, we get a net operating income of $1,767,235, to which we've divided by the capitalization rate of 5.25%. That gives us an indicated value of $33,661,614. And that is what we are asking to have the assessment changed. Now, if you look at your cap rate reports, I don't know if any of you have already sat down on one of these cap rate reports yet. They are fairly lengthy, so I will go over the primary materials. So,
Mr. Navarro, I'll just find out, Ron, have you seen the cap study?
Have I seen it?
Have you seen it?
Are you talking about this?
Yes, I'm talking about this one.
I've seen it. Have I gone through it completely? No.
No. Gary, have you?
Not in the last while, no, not this year.
Okay, then you can proceed.
So on page 1, again, we have a chart here for apartment capitalization rates. And this is Altus 2020 capitalization rate summary. So we have a few categories. So we have pre-1986, pre-1946, 1946 to 1959, 1960 to 1974, 1975 to 1997, and 1998 plus. So in terms of the assessor cap rates, and again, this is generally, 1946, pre-1946 is 6.1 to 6.6%. Our Altus cap rate is 6.25 to 6.6. 1946 to 1959, 4.6 to 5.3. We have it down as 6.25. Now, there's a huge discrepancy here in that number, 1946 to 1959. 1960 to 1974, again, the city has made no adjustments, 4.6 to 5.3. So they're basically saying that 1946 to 1974 apartments have the same cap rate. We differ, in our opinion. Again, we've gone with 6.25 for 1946 to 1959. 1960 to 1974, we've gone for 6%. 1975 to 1997, 4.2 to 5%. That's what the city has. We've gone with 6%. And then 1998 plus, these would be your newer apartment buildings that have been built in the last 20 years, 4.2% to 5%. We have 5.25%. Now, the city appears to break down their cap rate by age and by number of units less than or equal to 10 units, 11 to 19 units, and 20 units plus. In addition, there appears to be variations based on location. Over to the next page. Now, if we look at the comparison with the previous cycle, we've already gone over this chart here. You can have a look at it, but just to summarize, for 2020, the assessment department has variations depending on the number of units, less than, again, 10 units, 11 to 19 units, and 20 units plus. In addition, there appears to be variations based on location. In 2018, the assessment department has a premium of 0.75 for the north end. The assessor also has a 6% for row housing, regardless of age. And again, that is speaking directly about the 2018. On page 3, we can see how our Altus capitalization rates were derived. And again, we've looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sales. We have a sale price. We've gone through the exercise of stabilizing as best as we could where the information is available, and obviously where we have information available, we think it's very reliable. You can see our remarks here. So again, to summarize, our good locations, 2020 capitalization rates from 1946 to 6.25 to 6.6, 46 to 59 is 6.25, 60 to 74, 6, 75 to 97 is 6, and 98 plus is 5.25. We turn over to the next page. We have market report materials. So this is primarily Colliers and CBRE. Now, they stratify things slightly differently. They do it by high-rise, low-rise here. You can see the Q1 to 2016 results, 5.5 to 6%. Again, Q1 2018, 5.25 to 6.25. Again, Colliers is showing an increase here. They're not showing a decrease. And Q1 2018 adjusted 5.35 to 6.35. Now, in terms of low rise, Q1 to 2016 results 5.25 and 6.0. Q1 2018 5.25 to 6.25. Again, there's a slight change, and that's upward change. In terms of CBRE, again, they've stratified slightly different also. They have high-rise A, high-rise B, low-rise A, and low-rise B. You can see there that there is a lot of information missing. From their perspective, they've seen no change. Again, the burden of proof is on the assessor. The assessor has the burden of proof and must present evidence of cap rates with normal investment criteria. One cannot say that the assessor could be right on cap rates because they must prove that they are right. If there is any doubt, then the taxpayer should be given the benefit of the doubt. Capitalization rates and various factors. Capitalization rates need not be compared to similar buildings and factors, as the cap rate measures risk and quality of income. There is extra risk for older properties or poor locations, which can be reflected in the capitalization rates. If you look at the apartment universe, units available from 2011 to 2017, you can see that there are 52,319 units in 2011, 57,407 units in 2017. Vacancy rate has gone up from 1.1 to 2.8%, and the average rents have risen from $754 to $970. The 2013 apartment universe as per CMHC was 52,371 units. The number of units removed was greater than the number of additions. 910 units were removed, 648 for renovation and 148 for condo conversions. And 699 were added, 582 from new construction and 117 units returning after renovation. The 2014 apartment universe as per CMHC was 53,975 units. The number of units removed was greater than the number of additions, 425 units removed, 327 from renovation, 66 from condo conversion, and 32 for demolition, and on and on. You can look at the chart essentially for the summary. In terms of vacancy, you can see the vacancy over a few years here from 2011 to 2017 and see how it's changed over these these types of apartments, bachelor, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedroom pluses. And then at the bottom of the page, you can see a chart here that says vacancy by age. So you can also see the vacancy differs depending on the type of, the age of the building. As we move further on, we can see the reports that we've actually provided on these properties. So we've gone through the task of actually calculating our values and documenting it. I won't go through each one because that will simply take too long, but for each one of these properties that we've looked at, we've done an analysis of it and we've provided it for you. If you look at the appendix on page 15, we provide all the supplementary information regarding these properties that we've looked at. So starting with CMHC reports, and then we look into each one of these properties. We provide you with Collier's cap rate reports, the CBRE cap rates, and again, the MBN transcripts on Collier's cap rates. So that is the cap rate report.
All right. I thank you. And do you wish to add anything further in regards to your analysis here? Or is that it?
I think that's it, because I went over the
Okay.
the brief,
Yep.
the cap rate report. We've already done the rebuttal, so.
I thank you then. Mr. Martins, questions of the applicant?
Yes, I would like to touch on the cap rate information on 333 Ward.
Which
So-
page, I'm sorry?
In the cap rate study,
Yeah.
page 12 and page 61.
Do 12 first.
Well, it's kind of both.
Okay.
Okay, are you familiar with, from the Municipal Assessment Act, section 54(3.1,
Regarding,
regarding the effect of providing inconsistent information?
yes.
Okay, would you like me to read it? It's in my brief.
Well, you can you summarize it at all?
It's just a little.
Okay.
It's where, in response to a request for information or documentation under clause 16(1)(c), a person provided information that was substantially at variance with information that he or she presented at a hearing, the presiding officer of the board or panel may order that the information presented by the person at the hearing is not to be considered by the board or the panel making its decision. So if we look at page 12, for, first and foremost, for the real estate taxes in calculating the cap rate. It's my understanding, I'm not quite sure where we're coming up with this 206,941 that is used for this, for the stabilized capitalization. calculations because the amount that should be used is the $201,608. So that's already a $5,000 difference in the valuation that's used to calculate the 5.13%, which is, would influence a difference from our 5%.
Is that just a general sort of comment?
No, I'm questioning,
Okay.
how
Well-
did we come up with
Well,
206,941?
I think Mr. Navarro can probably answer that, but I probably know some of it too, but Mr. Navarro, just a question. And I think if Mr. Navarro doesn't know, it is current taxes. Meaning that it goes up to 2015. I think Mr. DuPont probably put things in there and he was using current taxes, meaning 16.
That's not what he's, what is the year of the sale on 333 Ward?
333 Ward is 1/15/2016.
So for,
So I would
when we're talking
say,
about 2016,
then, yes, I
we
would
should be
say,
using 2015 taxes.
yes, but he does not use that.
And that significantly alters the cap rate analysis, which when we're saying here in the rebuttal that we should not be using, well, that there's a big difference between ours, I'm showing that there's a big difference between ours because we're using information that is inconsistent with the methodology that we are expected to be using for cap
You
rate
would have
analysis.
stabilized.
Your point is well taken.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now, I would like to question, just opinion-wise, for two other issues on 333 Ward. If we look at line 13, the effective gross income, it looks to be that, in my opinion, the effective gross income over the 2013, 2014, and 2015 seems to be fairly stable. Why is it that an income outside of that range was used?
Well, again, I think Mr. DuPont was looking at 2016, so he would have adjusted, he would have known the rents for 2016, as he would have known the taxes for 2016. And again, this sale occurred in 2016, so that's why he's making that decision.
Okay. And then, as far as snow removal goes, just an observation, if we've got expenses of over 30,000, over 19,000, and over 10,000, instead of using an average, any idea why we went with the lowest number?
Okay, because Mr. Navarro, this is not his report, I think it's an unfair question to ask, because this is not his report at all. And whether he knows about it, it's kind of questionable. So if Mr. DuPont was here that did this, it would be justified to ask. So it's like having an appraiser not show up and you're questioning the appraisal report. So your point is well taken. It's part of the CAP study,
Okay.
okay?
May I ask one other thing?
Absolutely.
If we're using numbers from 2016 for the calculations of the CAP study, why did we not provide the income and expense information here? The evidence that we have in the body of the report does not match up with the calculations. Is there?
I mean, I think Mr. Dupont has provided what he thinks is relevant.
Okay.
You also have to see, the document is already 100 pages.
I understand that, but we're given information here that is inconsistent with the information that is being used for the
I don't know how
calculations.
inconsistent that is.
We're
Again,
given taxes of 201,000, and we're given information for 2015 here.
And
your
that is for
evidence-
calculating a sale, not actually for an assessment.
Okay.
You talked about another page, I think 21 or something like that?
Just a 61?
61?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the income and expense information that we're given for looking at the calculation for 333 Ward. And it doesn't match up with the calculations with the numbers that are being used for the calculations.
Again, I guess if Mr. DuPont was here, we could probably ask him. Any further questions?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Just as I actually, in response to that also,
Okay.
but I mean, as the purchaser would not be looking at the 2015 taxes, they would be looking at the 2016 taxes.
Mr. Stenny, questions?
Okay, we're dealing right now only with the cap rate, am I correct with that?
That's right.
Okay. Trying to keep it simple. The capitalization rate study gave us on page 1. You've got the assessor's cap rate, Altus cap rate. You go 1998 plus. This building is 2005. Is there at some point where after 1998 that changes?
Meaning more recently?
Well, if it is a more recent building, the cap rate would logically be lower.
I would say that there's not really that much evidence showing that. So we've stratified it based on the age groupings that we've provided there. Now, in terms of what we've found, that is essentially what we've said is that it's topping out at about 5.25.
But it would be.
You're asking me, could something conceivably sell for
2005 building
Yeah,
would likely have a low cap rate.
that hasn't been shown.
Okay.
For example, again, part of the reason in providing that rebuttal evidence on the city's cap rates is that we automatically showed that those properties were being bought, and, I mean, again, these are older properties in some cases, but the cap rates are, the properties are being bought for their future potential. And again, that has to be taken into account when we look at the capitalization rate now. So
I don't want to belabor, I just asked a very simple
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
I'm just saying that you've only got to, let's go to page 88, Winnipeg cap rates. You go multifamily, you got low of 4.75 and low of 5% on the cap rate. That's from,
This is Colliers.
Colliers, yeah.
That's 2016.
Well, you've given it to me.
Yeah. But what you're looking at is the 2016 on page 88?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. If you read at the bottom of page 4, under the charts where we actually show the capitalization rates for Colliers and CBRE.
Page 4?
Yeah, page 4. You see a commentary there. It should be noted that Colliers calculates cap rates by including closing costs such as land transfer tax. see appendix on the Collier's pro forma for 3 sales, page 25, page 40, and page 55. To adjust Collier's cap rates for closing cost, the premium would be 0.10%.
Okay, that's the only question I have. That's fine, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Seasby?
Thank you. Your work up page 7 of the report, and I was looking at the potential market gross rents and that, and I recall you mentioning that you removed discounts from what is the explanation for that?
Typically, discounts and subsidies like that are removed. So what you want is basically the pure potential gross, not including any type of discounts on there. So again, this is something that we are following as per appraisal practice also.
I recall hearing it last week about brand new apartments, and there was discount or incentives, 1 month free rent. So would that ordinarily be ignored in doing a workup or reconstructed income and expense?
Yeah, so we would try and get rid of the discounts and look at the normalized rents over that 1 year period. So there are basically incentives that renters get on the rent of a new building. But that is not standard for the rent. It's like they may add other incentives like new TVs or other things those are things that we would not include in there.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, you didn't include anything for vacancy,
No.
and the city has, so what is the reasoning behind that?
I tend to think that they probably looked at vacancy in this and figured that it wasn't maybe reliable. I'm not exactly sure of the reasoning for it.
Okay.
But we'd only be reducing the effective gross by doing that.
I see that the expenses, dollar-wise, are fairly close. Not percentage-wise, but dollar-wise, pretty close.
The big difference is in obviously the effective gross income. That's where the big difference is.
Okay. Ms. Martin's summary, if you want.
No, thank you.
Mr. Navarro?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question. I was only dealing with the cap rate, that's why
Sorry?
I asked whether or not we were going back to
You may
the
proceed.
presentation.
Yep.
On the same situation with your expenses, your management fees, you are stabilized here, 142,083, but none of the years have come even close to that, so where do you, if it is stabilized, that's what it says, then how come it's so high?
Well, again, we would be looking at some 2016 figures.
Which?
Some 2016 figures because we would know what the management costs would be.
I'm sorry, you look at what figure, 2015?
No, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, I'm,
Sorry. So we're looking at 2017
okay.
figures, 2016 and 2015. Some of the 2018s would be known. The management fee would be known in early 2018. So that would be the reasoning for including a slightly higher management fee.
But then you're saying that 22,800 is actual,
Yes.
not stabilized?
Well, no. When we stabilize off of actual figures, okay? So if you look at our 2015s, they average out to 122,805. We would have made an adjustment for 2018. In some cases, we don't, because we simply don't have that information for 2018.
That's all I have, thank you.
May I ask one follow-up question?
Sorry?
May I ask one follow-up question?
Yes.
Are you saying that you're using some post-reference information in here to figure out your stabilized
No,
Calculations?
it's not post-reference, so the management fee would have been known before the April 1, 2018 date. We would make sure of that.
Thank you.
I don't think you had any summaries, so Mr. Navarro, summary if you wish.
Just to summarize, again, the issue here is that we feel the city has calculated a much higher potential or effective gross income than the property would have actually received at that point. So our biggest issue is obviously with the effective rent that they've calculated. In terms of the capitalization rates, what I can say about the capitalization rates is we can discuss our capitalization report here till we're blue in the face, and we've provided the evidence that we think is appropriate for this capitalization rate. I cannot ask one single question of the assessor on a capitalization rate because they simply don't provide that backup information.
All right. So we've dealt with the capitalization, so we don't have to go through the, okay. So we'll go to St. Anne's Road, 571 St. Anne's Road, whenever you're ready, Ms. Martins.
I gotta get organized here.
Number 2.
I know,
Okay.
I'm trying to keep up, and you're rushing me.
You're rushing?
Number 2.
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Do that there.
If you think you're okay, you're okay.
You know, philosophize again.
Yes. That's my philosophy for the day.
Madam Assessor, the floor is yours. 571.
Thank you. This is roll number 0802105450. The assessed value is $22,974,000. This property has split liability. It is an apartment building built in 2008. It is zoned res multifamily. We look on page 4. We have our income workup.
You said there's a split, but I
Yes.
don't see any workup for the other one.
It's connected on page 4.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
The section that is school tax exempt is the property. The excess is because there is a greater portion of land. So that portion is, the liability on that one is taxable. So we have 165 suites. 111 of them are 1 bedroom, 54 of them are 2 bedroom. We have a monthly per suite average of $1,047.72, giving us a potential gross income of $2,074,486 with a 2.6 vacancy loss and a 43.15% expense ratio and a 5% cap. If you go a little bit further down, income stream 2 is at the bottom, and we have the additional land value. The portion of land is valued at $1,196,000. If we go to page 9, you'll see that we do have their income and expense workup, and there is $34,325 in parking revenue. Over on page 3 and page 2, we have our rent comparables and our land sales comparables.
Is that it?
That is.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Navarro, questions?
Yes. In terms of your comparables, did you look for comparables that are in the same location rather than similar characteristics like the number of stories versus the age of the building or the suite complement? Basically, I'm saying is location.
Yes, location is, I use the same market area.
Okay, so the ages of your buildings really don't have any bearing, like, or any significance here, right?
That's not one of the factors I look at,
Okay.
because I also don't have, I haven't looked at their, whether they've been recently renovated or any of those factors as well.
Okay. Now, if you look at our subject, which is really high on one-bedrooms, comp number 1 isn't really comparable because it's, again, that situation is kind of reversed. It's high on the 2-bedrooms and low on the 1-bedrooms.
Looking at that, I looked at the gross floor area per unit. So I'm not sure what the square footage is on the 1-bedroom units versus the 2-bedroom units on either one of those buildings.
Now, if you have a difference in suite counts, for example, you have X number of suites in 1-bedrooms and X number of suites in 2-bedrooms, and then you have a building beside it that has a completely different complement, the rents will be slightly different, right? The overall effective, or the overall potential rent of that property will be different because, again, they have a different complement, is that correct?
Yes, but I'm also not sure, for example, in the last building that we were talking about, properties that we consider to be 1-bedroom, some of the units, you consider them to be 1-bedroom plus a den. So I don't know what the mix of the rooms
Okay.
are in that regards.
Okay. And again, you're not aware of whether any of these comparables have had any upgrades to them?
No, I am not aware if they've been brought up.
If you can move to page 3. Okay. Do you have an overhead shot of the property? I'm gonna actually
Yes,
ask.
page 8.
Page 8? Oh, awesome. Okay. Now, if you can look at page 8 of the picture there, and look at the comps 1 through 5 on the land rates, land comparables on page 3. And you have several sizes here. I'm just going to make a few comments here before I ask the final question. 84,000, 46,000, 85,000, 86,000, 56,000 square feet. So you have a varying amount of varying land sizes in terms of your comparables. Now, can you tell me what type of properties these are. Are these basically sites ready for development?
I'm not sure, I was looking at, the land area.
Okay.
I wanted it to be close to 65,000, some of it is above, some of it's
Okay.
below. And I was looking at the zoning, and I was trying to find some with some land influence. The subject property has bus route, so does comp 1 and comp 5. And I was also looking at heavy traffic, such as comp 1 and comp 5. And it was, and I was looking within the time frame.
Okay. So is it safe to say that these are development sites, essentially? Parcels of
I
land?
can't say, I have no idea.
Okay. So would they have sold with other properties, or do they have an apartment on site then? These are just land comparables, are they not?
These are just land comparables.
Okay. So I'm assuming that they're just basically bare land, correct? Yes, no?
I don't know how many different ways I can tell you that I didn't take a look at these. I don't have pictures of these ones. I didn't look to see if they had any paving or anything on them. I don't know how else to say that I didn't look at them, and I don't know if they're actually bare land.
Generally, when I look at bare land, I'm
Mhm.
looking at bare land comparables that are essentially bare land,
Okay.
okay? So, do you know if any of these properties have apartments on them?
I'm assuming they do not have apartments on them.
Thank you. Now, if you look at page 8 of your overhead pictures, on the top picture there, what can you develop on there?
See, I think that you're taking this in a different direction. This isn't excess land that we're saying, this is excess land because we can chop it off and make use of it. This is land that we're valuing because there is an excess of land which is legislated. So there's a bit different implication on this.
I understand that, but
This isn't
this
something
goes
that we would
also
be
to the
cutting
value of the property, does it not? So, if you can develop.
So it's a parking lot,
Yeah.
essentially.
So, again, the other properties are not parking lots, are they not?
I don't know.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning, questions of the assessor?
Your comparables, just so I know, I know some of them. Where is Bellevue? Where is that? On comp 3. This one again, maybe.
It would be Windsor Park? Maybe? Windsor Park.
I think it's in St. Town, isn't it? Belleville?
And the other one
What's your
is,
part?
St. Boniface.
St. Wait.
St.
Been
Boniface.
there.
It's near,
Off of Cottonwood
Dakota?
Drive.
I thought it was near Dakota.
see?
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I don't want Beaver Hill too, I just want the comp 3 and 4, just to give me an idea of the locations.
Well, Beaver Hill is Southdale,
Okay.
right?
Belleville is off of Bishop Grandin, between St. Mary's and St. Anne's.
Okay. So,
And-
Sabatel,
All right. Yes.
Beaver Hill?
Beaver Hill is Southdale. Maybe it goes into Sabatel too.
Yes,
Okay.
Beaver Hill is off Fermor, and
Oh,
it's close to the Mint.
yeah, I know where you are now, okay.
And
Yeah, I'm
it loops
okay.
around down almost to Bishop Grandin.
And then the other one here is, you have a 2008 building, which is new, and all these others are going back to 1972.
But like I said, I don't know if they've had upgrades, which would make their effective age much newer.
Well, I agree with you on that, but, so you wouldn't have newer buildings that were actually built, because the 2008 would be legitimate, it wouldn't be an effective date.
You know what, I was looking in that area, and I was trying to find something that had a mix of apartments that was 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom, and there's only so many that we have. So I was picking ones that had a mix of 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom within the area, and I was less concerned about the year because we don't know what influence.
No, okay, that's fine, thank you very much, that's all I have there, Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Steesky?
Yeah, I was also looking at the aerial overhead on page 8. Is this all one building attached, or is the building
It looks like it's
semi-detached?
it looks like it's all attached.
Exaggerated question mark. Unusual formation of building. But yeah, so it would all be one building, one unit.
Yes.
Constructed in that way. No, I don't have any other questions.
Ms. Martins, the excess land, I see that you have it at 3.4 acres, 3.48 acres?
It's not excess land. This is legislated as, there can only be so much land that is allowed to be included with the school exempt classification. So it's not considered excess, it's a different,
Okay.
it's a different thing. So we've got 65,340 square feet.
How much?
65,000,
65,000?
340,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mhm.
That's according to Mr. Navarro's. But in yours, you have, in square feet, 151.
That's the total.
That's the total.
That's
Okay.
the total for the whole property.
Okay.
So we have it valued
So-
at $18.30 a square foot. Is that right? Is my math right?
So, but I cheated a little and looked at Mr. Navarro's, and Mr. Navarro's at 65,340 excess land, and you're at 151, which is in total.
That's the total.
So, are you in agreement to the excess land as to 65,000 or not?
I'm in agreement that 65,340 is allocated at an additional value, which is different than excess land.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to see if there was, okay.
Yes, we agree on the square footage of the land in question.
This is because of the split. Something else. I have no further questions. Mr. Navarro, the floor is yours.
Sure. Since we've already gone over some of these materials in terms of cap rates, and we can just turn to page 8 and go over the workup. So potential market gross rents are $1,813,420. That is stabilized. Vacancy, we've taken out $140,613. That gives us an effective gross rent of $1,672,807. We've added laundry and parking income and miscellaneous income. That gives us an effective gross of $1,720,727. In terms of expenses, we've applied an expense ratio of 43.7%. That gives us a gross income of, a net operating income of $969,250. to which we've applied the same cap rate that we've used on newer buildings, 5.25%. That gives us an indicated market value of $18,461,903, and that is for the taxable exempt portion. We've added a nominal value of $269,200 to the land that is not excess land, but we're having a hard time defining. The reason that we put a nominal value on it is that, again, we looked at land comparisons, comparable sales. We didn't have a land sale that we could actually derive a value for this property, simply because, again, we are talking about the land above the certain amount that's legislated that cannot be, that is taxable. However, when we look at it from a market perspective, even on that land, we're looking at a property or land that effectively can't be built on. So why would we give it a value of $18 or $19 per square foot when that is essentially land comparables that are ready for development, that can be developed? So again, we provided simply just a nominal value on that property based on 65,340 square feet. Gives us a total value overall of $18,462,000 again for the exempt portion, and $269,200 for the non-exempt portion. And on page 1, you can see again a summary of what we're asking here. $18,462,000 for the institutional school exempt, and the $269,000 for the institutional taxable. That's what we've stated.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Ms. Martins, questions?
Yes, the land that's being questioned, is it set up in a way that could potentially be cut off and sold?
I don't think so.
Okay, what is it currently being used for?
Parking.
And is there income being produced by the parking?
There is exactly $35,638 in parking income.
Okay, so there is income coming in for this land. Perhaps it's not useless and should just have a nominal amount thrown on it. Could it perhaps be considered an income producing portion of their property?
Well, I will go over that if you bear with me. I have some experience with parking. So $34,325, we assume that to be gross. $34,325. Typical parking expense ratio is about 45% for a parking lot. That gives us $15,446 in expenses. So $34,325 minus $15,446. That gives us $18,879 in net operating income. And let's just say, I don't know, a cap rate of about 6.5 to 7 because it's out of the downtown. Gives us a value of $290,446 at 6.5 cap.
The expenses for that you are attributing to the parking lot, Did you already include them as part of the expenses for the property?
Well, again, you're asking me to isolate the parking itself, right?
Well, we're talking about a portion of the
We
land that's
don't know what the
contributing.
expenses are for the parking, so we assume a standard expense ratio for most parking lots at about 45%. Other than that, there's not much I can tell you beyond it. It would be difficult to come up with a parking value on this, but based on the standard parameters that we use for parking valuation, using a 6.5% cap rate, we would come up with a value of about $290,000.
But what I'm saying is then if you are attributing,
We would have to adjust the expenses off of the apartment building, yes.
okay,
But again, those expenses would be fairly small because again, we're only talking about $15,000 in parking expenses. So if we had to adjust for that, let's see, 751, 477 minus 15,000, 1246, 736, 831, divided by 1,720,000. 727. So we get a 42.8% expense ratio versus 43.7, okay? That's adjusted. So yes, in that case, if we did it that way, we would have to adjust the expense ratio to 42.8% on the apartment building, and then take in that, those expense parameters for the parking. It would come up with a slightly different value on it, yes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
Okay. I'm looking at your picture in page number 2.
Yes, okay.
There's lots of lines here. Which is the piece that we're talking about, the extra land? Which actual piece?
Okay, you see that little marker there?
I see lots of things.
Do you want me to walk over there?
I would be.
The bullseye.
I can just walk over there and show you.
Oh, I can see that.
Okay.
But I just want to know.
Okay, so it would be this area right there
The
along
blue
these-
line, yeah,
So
blue outline.
Mhm.
this is excess land, or whatever we call it.
What's in here?
It's all this, and, okay, so.
But it's not truly excess.
So I didn't,
Yeah.
I'm just,
We'll just say land.
It's,
Yes,
Yes,
so
land.
we're not talking about a specific chunk of it,
no.
we're talking about
But I
that this
saw
is,
these blue lines and I thought, who knows, but
this has been legislated, that
I didn't get.
only
the
so
next
much
week.
so
can be.
what we're essentially arguing on is that value that's attributed to that land.
Yes, now you're saying the value is how much, 269?
Exactly.
And the city is saying,
Right.
which,
1,196,000.
yeah, well, I have those, but they didn't equate, it's a pretty large difference.
Yes,
Yeah,
And I'm trying to get my head around that, and, but you're saying it is being used for parking?
well, if you look at their property, they've got parking income coming in,
Yeah, gotcha.
and it's part of, it's not a set, we have many circumstances where you have a building and it's on a very big property and you can imagine cutting it in half, and that's a situation where it's excess land. But this isn't that kind of situation. This is a situation where it's an institutional property.
Ah, okay,
So they're only allowed X number of square feet to be school tax exempt.
okay,
So we're just saying 60 for this amount that we're discussing, that's the amount that they are responsible to pay taxes on.
gotcha.
So we're not saying, okay, it's this piece, or it's this piece, or it's this piece. They've got X number of square feet that can be school tax exempt. Anything over and above that, they need to take their portion of the tax burden and pay the taxes on it. So
Okay.
we've got, currently they are expected to pay the taxes on $1,196,000.
Yes,
And they're asking to be taxed on $269,000.
Okay, now, the minor thing, is this paid property, the parking? Is it paid?
Yes,
Okay, am I going in the right direction this time?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're uncovering the mystery.
I need now a break after this one, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm getting it. So where did the $65,340 come in?
that's the portion over and above what
Ah.
they are they are able to be school tax exempt for.
Okay, that's fine. And I guess we will be or have been, okay, never mind. I think I've kind of got it now. Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sneesby.
That was my big question. This is thing missing. Now I get it.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Mr. Navarro, there's one thing on your page number 8. I like all the figures to add up. So
They don't add up?
on the assessors, they have a value of 22,974. Okay, so you've subtracted that, so you have a figure of 21 million. It should be 22.9. Okay, like it, I don't know what you did there, but you sort of confused me.
Probably
Yeah, okay.
the formula that.
And also the other, yours also, it's subtracted, so,
Where?
in total, you're looking for 18,731, okay? So I just
Yes.
look at the bottom figure there,
Yeah,
and
okay.
it's a little higher.
So, the 18,461,903, that's rounded here to 18,462. It didn't
Yeah.
add the
Yeah.
269,000.
Yeah, okay. Summaries on either party,
No, thank you.
okay? Mr. Navarro?
I don't.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, okay? Okay, we'll call the hearing back to order. And we'll go to the next property, St. Anne's Road, 632, whenever you're ready.
This is roll number 080067529000, 632 St. Anne's Road. The assessed value is $8,399,000. This is a residential property. It's an apartment building built in 1978. Zoned residential multifamily. On page 3, we have an income workup. We have 78 suites, 12 one-bedroom, 66 two-bedroom. The average monthly rent per suite is $997.02. We have a potential gross income of $933,211 with a vacancy loss of 2.6%. We have an expense ratio of 53.8% and a cap rate of 5%. That gives us our value of $8,399,000. We have some rental comparables on page 2. Some cap rate information, and we have some overhead pictures on page 7. And then we have the income and expense workup. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Navarro, questions?
No, I don't think I do, actually.
Okay. Mr. Stenning,
I have no questions.
Mr. Sneesby,
I have no questions.
I have none. So Mr. Navarro, the floor is yours.
If we just turn to page 7 of the report. And as you can see, again, we've gone with site specific. However, in this case, you can see that our net operating income is actually slightly higher than the assessors. So what we've started out with is potential market gross of $932,157. We've deducted for vacancy, that gives us an effective gross of $880,044. We've added parking income to that, and miscellaneous income, that gives us an effective gross of $916,305. We have an expense ratio of 53.2%, that gives us a net operating income of $429,214. And again, based on our cap rate review, based on the age of this building, we've classified it as a 6% cap rate, and that accounts for the difference in value. So our indicated value is $7,153,574, and adjusted upward, that would be, for rounding, that would be $7,154,000. That is my presentation.
I thank you. Ms. Martins, questions of the applicant?
No, thank you.
Mr. Stenny?
Just want to touch base on the cap rate here. You're saying 6% in this case. Why? What's your,
Okay.
just give me a rough one.
Okay, so to answer your question,
We know it's a, you say 1978 building, right?
yeah, so we have categorized 1975 to 1997 buildings, and the cap rate is 6% for those. That would be on page 1 of your cap rate report.
Okay. Why have you got Altus 525 and 555? Why would you put 2018?
Sorry, where?
No, on your.
At the bottom.
At the bottom. You mentioned Altus 5.
Looks like a rec appeal.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, what that means.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what happens is on these workups is that we're transferring the information from the previous cycle onto the next cycle. So sometimes things get left over from the previous cycle, and so this is just simply a typo. So when we were copying everything over, we just missed the comments that were there.
Would you have put that in if you knew?
No, it's not even, it's not even necessary for it to be there.
Okay.
It may not even be for that specific property, in
Okay.
fact.
Okay. But the rec appeal, what is that? Is that the same
That's,
answer?
it shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the same.
It's
Okay.
not really applicable.
NA.
So we'll just
Oh, no, that's
cross
fine.
that out.
So, no, that's really all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Sneesby?
No, I have no questions.
I have none either, so, summation either party?
No, thank you.
Okay. Let's go on to the next one then. Willow Lake Crescent, number 91. Floor is yours, madam.
Kelsey, I can't find my brief here, or in space,
For which one?
for 91 Willow Lake.
You want yours?
Yes, please.
I'll just, yeah.
Thank you. I won't write on it. Thank you. Sorry about that. Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. This is roll number 0600690400, 91 Willow Lake Crescent. The assessed value is $11,411. This is an apartment building. It's zoned residential multifamily. If we look over on page 2, we have some rental comparables, and page 3, we have the income workup. There's 96 suites. It's a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom. The average monthly rent per suite is $1,062.86. That gives us a potential gross income of $1,224,415, with a vacancy loss of 2.6%, expense ratio of 49.29%, and an overall capitalization rate of 5.3%, which gives us our $11,411,000. Page 4 and 5, we have our cap rate information. Page 6 is municipal excerpts, and then page 7 is the overhead view of the property. And then page 8 and 9 is the income information.
And that's your presentation.
That is, thank you.
Mr. Navarro, questions?
I have no questions.
Mr. Sneesby?
What was the age of this building?
This building is 1973.
Okay. How did you come up with 5.3% on the cap rate? That's a new one on me. You guys are so versatile in your estimates. of the
That's
cap-
model. We were finding that by doing 5.25, 5.5, that actually led to being big steps. So being more fluid with our cap rates, having 5.3 instead of going from 5.25 to 5. 5.3 adds a little bit more fluidity instead of being all of a sudden there's a gigantic leap in the amount.
Okay.
Right.
Because we were finding that it was quite difficult, that you would do a little tiny touch on the cap rate would be a huge change in valuation.
Especially when you're dealing with, say, $10 million.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Stenning,
I have one more.
questions?
Obviously, it was built, as you say, 73, but to your knowledge, have there been upgrades over the years, permits, et cetera?
I'm assuming that since the effective year built is similar to the actual age of the building, that there hasn't been anything, there hasn't been a huge dramatic improvement.
Okay.
But since they are commanding higher rents, I would assume that there were some general upgrades that would keep the building up to date and current.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
I have no questions. Mr. Navarro, the floor is yours.
If you please turn to the appendix. I've got a larger version of the workup for this property, so it'll be easier to see. So just turn to the appendix of the property. Again, this is 91 Willow Lake Crescent. Built in 1973, 102 outdoor stalls, 2.5 stories, total gross floor area of 94,518 square feet. 24 one-bedrooms, 72 two-bedrooms for a total of 96 suites. The potential market gross rents, we've stabilized them at $1,233,000, deducted for vacancy and bad debt, $1,148,138 effective gross income. To this, we've added laundry income and parking income, and also some miscellaneous income. So our effective gross income is $1,169,058. Our expenses are, we've estimated them at 56.7%. Total expenses of $662,962. Net operating income of $506,096, to which we've applied the 6% cap rate, and that gives us an overall value of $8,434,929, or $8,435,000 rounded.
I thank you. Parkins? Mr. Stenning?
Looking for information that the tenant sent in. Do I have some? I thought I had some, and I've lost.
I believe that's on the assessor's brief.
Yeah, it is. I'm just trying to find it.
It's on the last,
Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Give me a minute, maybe you can ask Mr. Sneaky, but
Okay.
I just want to look at this.
Mr. Sneesby?
I'm looking at some numbers here.
Mr. Sneesby?
Sure, thank you. On page 6 and whatever comes after that, it's just a repeat of the,
Yes. I've
changed
the
the landscape.
exactly, so it gives us a larger view.
I thought I was seeing double. Okay, that was my only question, I got it.
No,
Mr. Stenning?
I'm just looking at what they put in their NOI. There's all three different NOIs. So, just going through the expenses and we'll take a minute. Yeah, I mean, these, oh no, that's fine. Okay, I'm okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Navarro, your expenses are running a little high compared to what the city has, so any explanation?
It is an older building,
Okay.
so we would think that it would probably incur a little bit of an extra amount on the management expenses. And again, the city models their expenses. They've got it near 50%, we've got it above 50%. We depend on actuals. In terms of the age of the building, 1973, again, we use actual rents, so the rents are reflective of the characteristics of the apartment building, so.
Okay, I thank you. Ms. Martins, either party want summation?
no, thank you.
Okay, let's press on. Weatherstone Place, 122, whenever you're ready.
Can I pass this one back to you?
Sure.
That's the brief that you did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the floor is yours, Ms. Martin.
This one is roll number 06006781000122 Weatherstone Place. The assessed value is $5,675,000. It's an apartment building built in 1969, zoned residential multifamily. On page 2, we have some rent comparables. And on page 3, we have the income workup. We have 54 suites, 36 of them are one bedroom, 18 of them are two bedroom, and we have an average monthly rent per suite at $939.71, which gives us a potential gross income of $608,932. We've applied a 2.6% vacancy loss and 49.29% expenses, and a cap rate of 5.3%. That gives us our $5,675,000. On page 7, we do have some overhead views of the property.
I thank you. Mr. Navarro, questions?
Yes, actually, so we've had 3 properties now, essentially built in the same era, around, say, 1970 or so. And you've assigned a 5.3% cap rate on all 3 of these properties. Is it safe to say that around that era, you guys, the city is saying 5.3%?
There are other factors that could come into play with this. The age would influence it, but also.
The age is kind of interesting because they're all around that era.
Yes, but it could also be, depending on the quality of the building, depending on the area, but I'm assuming that the age is a big factor, not that every building that age will have the same cap rate.
That's my question.
I thank you. Mr. Stenning?
When you give us the comparables, they all seem to be on the surface relatively. You never, we don't put cap rates on those, do you, on those properties?
No, because we're just looking at what the rent is on those ones. We're not looking at the cap rate. I don't know if any of those have sold recently, so we wouldn't be able to assign a cap rate to it based on sales.
Maybe the chair knows, is there any reason why they don't do that, why they wouldn't show cap rates on these properties? I know they don't,
Yeah.
but if they're comparable, I often wonder why.
That's just for
They
rents.
may not be sales.
That's just for,
Okay.
yeah, they could, yeah.
No, that's
They
fine.
may not have sold.
I just asked, that's all. But, no, I don't have any questions.
Mr. Sneesby?
I have no question.
Oh, well, again, and I'm sorry to do that, but we're going back to 69 building, and and obviously the rents are still good, but you have no information on how much money they've spent on upgrades.
No, I don't.
Did you look for that?
If I have an opportunity to, I will look into what they've gotten permits out for to see if there's big upgrades. Unfortunately, with time constraints the way they are, I don't always have an opportunity to look at all of the permits that have been taken out for the property as well as for, I take a look at if there's notes in our computer program that does the model. I look there to see if there's anything that would indicate some type of change that has been made.
Okay. No, that's fine, thank you. That's all I have.
You use the work permit amount, dollar amount that they show, or do you use that just as an indicator that some major work has been done?
If major work has been done that would require changes to the valuation of the property, somebody would go out and then instead of us, we wouldn't plug in the amount that the permit said, we would change the characteristics in our system so that the computer will come up with a model that, the amount through the model
Okay, thank you.
that would apply.
Mr. Navarro?
Yes. Again, 122 Weatherstone Place, built in 1969, 36 one-bedrooms, 18 two-bedrooms, for a total complement of 54 suites. Potential gross market rent is $541,600. We've deducted vacancy off this. Our effective gross is $533,476. We've added laundry, and there's just a nominal parking value or parking income value there. Miscellaneous income, we've deducted $7,512 for an effective gross of $532,147. We have an expense ratio of 49.2%. That is $262,073. So that gives us a net operating income of $270,074. To which we've divided by a 6% cap rate. The indicated value for us is $4,501,231,000. And again, just to reiterate here, the current market rents are, again, this is site specific. We've used the market rents for this property. We haven't used a modeled rent. So when Mr. Stenning, you're asking about these upgrades to the building, I think we can assume that most buildings at this point have upgrades to them. However, these rents are reflective of any upgrades that have been made. As you know, once a property undergoes significant renovations to a suite the property owner can ask for a rental increase above and beyond what is typically allowed by the Rental Tenancies Board. So again, these rents are reflective of what's in place, and that would be also the condition of the building.
I thank you, sir. Ms. Martins, questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Stenning?
No question.
Mr. Sneesby?
I noticed the city and their work and income, they show an average apartment rental rate. And your workup, you do the same, but you've added a couple of parking stalls in there, one, like, a nominal amount. But
Again,
there's-
it's a nominal amount.
But there's 20 or 30 parking stalls in the aerial
Yeah.
photo.
That's what we had unfortunately under the records, so, in terms of the parking value, that suggests to me that they're probably not charging,
It's included in the rent.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, you never know until you know.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Summation, either party?
No, thank you.
Okay. Nova Vista Drive, number 33, whenever you're ready.
This is rule number 080055600000, 33 Nova Vista Drive. The assessed value is $2,619,000. This is an apartment building zoned residential multifamily, built in 1985. Page 3, we have an income workup. This one has 24 two-bedroom suites. Our average monthly rent per suite is $947.34. The potential gross income is $272,834, with a vacancy loss of 2.6% and expenses at 50.72%, and a cap rate at 5%, which gives us our $2,619,000. We then have the standard cap rate evidence and the Municipal Act excerpts, and then we've got a picture on page 7. It shows the two buildings with the parking lot between them, well, off to the side. And then we have the income and expense information. Thank you.
Mr. Navarro, questions?
You've got a high relatively high expense ratio of 50%. So it's recognizing the age of the building, but yet your cap rate again is moving downwards, and this is a 1985 building, and that makes it what, 30 years, 30-year mark. Did you? Does the city make any adjustments based on, I'm struggling to find the rationale with some of these cap rates. Is one of the determining factors here the location, the age, or is it a mix? Because again, it's not making a lot of sense to me.
Well, it's a combination, and just because there's higher expenses, that could be that one of the other characteristics was adjusted in order to come up with higher expenses. I don't have all the characteristics listed here, so I'm not sure exactly what might have been adjusted previously, but the capitalization rate, it's still within our range.
Okay. Now, and we've talked about some of these cap rates here, and we've handed a rebuttal in on these cap rates, but I mean, just looking at them at their face value, 333 Ward Street, 2016, this is a building built in 2006, it has a 5% cap rate as well.
Yes,
Okay.
but if you, well, never mind, sorry.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning? Questions of the assessor?
No, I don't. I don't have any.
Okay, I thank you. Mr. Sneesby?
Income, is it normally taken from the actual mailer or is used in comparison to your model?
It's driven from the model, but we use the mailers, we put the information from the mailers into our computer system to help come up with the model. So it's not that this mailer is applied to this property, it's that we take the information from the mailers and we enter it in so that we have a basis for the model to come up with the values.
Okay. Thank you. That's my question.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lowry, the floor is yours.
33 Nova Vista, and subject property is located on the north side of Nova Vista Drive, southeast corner of Nova Vista and Vista Avenues, intersection in St. Boniface. The improvement is a three-story structure built in 1985 and are presently being used as multifamily residential buildings. Site size is 1.4 acres according to the city and zoned RMFS, residential multifamily small, and the subject property has 24 units. Again, on page 4, you can glance over it. Again, we've used site-specific characteristics for this property, as we have for all apartment buildings. Don't need to get into the capitalization rate again. If we turn to page 8 in the appendix, I can go over the income of this property. So the potential market gross rents are $264,192. We've deducted for vacancy here. Effective gross rent of $257,323. An effective gross income of $260,889. We also included some laundry income in there. In terms of the effective gross, in terms of expensive, we have an expense ratio of 59.2%. That gives us a net operating income of $106,436, to which we've applied a 6% capitalization rate for an indicated value of $1,773,939, or $1,774,000 rounded. And again, in terms of the expenses, we've looked at the insurance here, $8,054, stabilized again to 2017. Management fees, and we've also stabilized those. Professional fees, office supply, bank equipment. We've looked at advertising and leasing. Utility subtotal here, $31,721. Repair and maintenance, $45,356. Wages and benefits, $17,150, and then real estate taxes. Again, we've come up with an expense ratio of 59.2%. That's my presentation.
I thank you. Ms. Parkins?
No
Questions? No? Mr. Stenning?
Well, he had management fee, is the figures outlined there? You did all the management fees over 100,000.
I don't think that would be typical.
You which?
I don't think that would be typical.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying, why would you drop to 13,000?
Because I think 13,000 would be more typical of a management fee.
I agree, but I mean, I'm just asking, why would they be up over 100,000?
Well, they include items that are not typically included in management fees, so we kind of disregarded
Very
those.
odd, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you think on the, another minor question. You have a balcony, nice balcony, does that add value to the property?
I think in some cases it actually does, because Some balconies are actually quite large, so it's an added feature that some people are willing to pay for. I've seen balconies that are, 200 square feet plus, and they do get a higher rent.
I'm just asking, obviously, because this one has pretty balconies.
I think these are fairly standard balconies,
Yeah,
but
okay.
to answer your question, can balconies have an effect on value? They definitely can.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I thank you. Mr. Seasby?
Yeah, I think Mr. Stenning brought out the answer to my question about the operating expenses that were out of line. And I see you've adjusted for that. And so you've come in with, 59%? Yeah. So I think that answered my question. Thanks very much.
You were looking at the management fee in particular?
Yeah,
Yeah, when we looked at it, it made no sense to us.
Yeah.
So that's why we made that.
Probably got a salary in there.
Yeah, so we made a fairly significant adjustment on that to what we think is an appropriate management fee.
everything else seems to be pretty much stabilized and in line. Okay, thank you.
I have no questions. Either party wants summation?
No, thank you.
Okay. We'll go on to St. Anne's Road, 459. Whenever you're ready.
This is roll number 0800315790. The assessed value is $4,457,000. This is zoned RMFS, so residential multifamily, built in 1971. We have some rental comparables on page 3. And we have our income on page 4. We have 42 suites, 27 of them are 1 bedroom, 15 of them are 2 bedroom. We have an average monthly rent per suite at $948.83, which gives us our potential gross income of $478,210. We then have a vacancy loss of 2.6% and expenses at 49.29% with a cap rate of 5.3%. This gives us our estimated value of $4,457,000.
I thank you. Mr. Navarro?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Mr. Seasby?
No questions?
Mr. Stenning?
No questions.
Mr. Navarro, the floor is yours.
459 St. Anne's Road, built in 1971, 42 outdoor parking stalls, 2.5 stories, a total gross floor area of 39,861 square feet, 27 one-bedrooms, 15 two-bedrooms, for a total of 42 suites. We have a potential market gross rent of $394,945. We have not deducted for vacancy, so again, it is $394,945. We have laundry of $5,806 and parking of $87.16. Miscellaneous income of $262, so we have $409,728 in effective gross income. We've applied a 47.2% expense ratio to this. And again, we can go through these, you can go through these. In terms of a net operating income, we have $216,174 and a capitalization rate of 6%. And we have an indicated value of $3,602,894, or $3,603,000 rounded. That's my presentation.
I thank you. Ms. Martins, questions of the appellant?
No, thank you.
Mr. Stenning?
I have no questions.
Mr. Seasby?
What is essentially the difference of the gross income is quite a bit. Your income, Mr. Nadal, was taken from actual?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that was my main question, sir. I wondered why there was an imbalance there. Yeah, that's my question.
Okay. Either party wants summation?
No, thank you.
Okay. I think that concludes our hearing. So thank you very much for your presentations and your attendance and results very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.